So let's move over to SEC, which is beefing up its team. It's going to add another 20 enforcement officers towards the crypto beat. That brings the total to around 50. This is for scams like ICOs that don't turn out how the investors want them to turn out, to NFT contracts, to anything under the SEC's purview in terms of crypto. They're going to go after bad actors. The SEC has been criticized time and time again for failing to act on bad scams and for also going after protocols that people think are fair investments. So it'll be interesting to see, one, how these 20 people add to crypto enforcement. Are we going to see further actions against past protocols and current protocols that have been skirting the rules, quote unquote? Another interesting plot line here is, what is Gary Gensler up to? I think a lot of people have been frustrated with some of the actions he's taken since he came into office, notably that a Bitcoin ETF has not been pushed through. Will we see a Bitcoin ETF go through because they have more manpower to look into this market itself? It doesn't seem like these 20 people are allocated towards that, but I think people are still concerned about that question more so than anything else. And having more people on the team might free up some cap space for him to go after a Bitcoin ETF and really define that for investors. Zach, I'm going to toss it over to you.
Yeah, my view on this one is that, enforcement is a lagging indicator, right? We're still dealing with the ghosts of the 2017 ICO era. You get these press releases from the DOJ saying, we've arrested so-and-so, or we've come to a settlement with so-and-so. And it's all these projects from like crypto 1.0, right? And so we're going to get like 3 years from now, 4 years from now, there's going to be all sorts of crazy stuff going on with NFTs and especially DeFi. I think the DeFi stuff becomes really, really interesting. Do these things look like securities? Do they act like securities? Should we consider them securities? Or are they yield-bearing instruments in a more traditional sense that are outside of the purview of the SEC? Now the SEC is hiring a bunch of people to actually look at this stuff, to look under the hood for all these protocols. And it's going to be really fascinating to see what unfolds over these next 2, 3, 4 years, as the enforcement, again, is a lagging indicator of what had been going on in the market when the innovators are out innovating the regulators, just the way the innovation regulation dynamic works. So 3, 4 years from now, it's going to get wild, especially with NFTs and DeFi. It's going to get strange. I'm going to toss this to Jen.
I think this is almost a direct response to all of the scams and hacks that we've been reporting on. Every single time there's a DeFi hack, the amount just gets more and more. I feel like we say this is the biggest hack in DeFi history probably every time we talk about a hack. And so now the SEC is almost doubling their team to look into DeFi, NFTs, coin offerings. And I hope that with doubling the team, they double their perspective on industry. I hope that we can see some things like Hester Peirce's sandbox get looked at again and rethunk, and we can see some solutions to promote innovation and fixing some of these problems that lead to the hacks with all of this brain power. If it doesn't, unfortunately, I don't think it's only investors who are going to suffer. It's people who want to join these communities and take part in the tech in a way that is maybe not investment first. And to the India story, I think it would push startups and innovation away from the US. So hopefully we can diversify perspective in the SEC, and this is a good story. And we can see some nice regulatory frameworks so that we can start solving these problems and not just pushing people away from the tech. So fingers crossed. That's my optimism for today.
Jen, you're always so optimistic, but I'm going to throw some shade on top of this. I don't know if adding more people to the government agency is going to fix anything. The problems are still going to be there. There's still going to be scammers jumping in. People are too slow to stop these things. They can't stop them. We're talking about the age of computer investment. Things are over in a second. Look at last week and look at the NFT drops that happened. How fast did that happen? Do you think the SEC is going to have the time to get on top of that for at least 2 years? I don't think so. You look back at some of this stuff from 2017, 2018 that they're still trying to prosecute against. It doesn't make sense to have a government agency which has to go through the court systems, has to operate on paper, go against these projects that are operating with digits and bytes. Just doesn't add up. And I don't think adding 20 more people is going to do anything. Maybe Gary Gensler figures something out, but I'm not super bullish on him. Zach, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, it's 20 more cops on the beat, right? It's 20 more of those protector memes, like, ooh, I'm protecting. Like 20 more protectors are out there looking at that crazy DeFi shit that you are looking at right now. Stablecoins are mentioned in this. NFTs are mentioned in this. The whole gamut is mentioned, right? So you got 20 more protectors on the beat, making sure that you're protectored from dubious investments. And again, it's just going to get really interesting, I think. Like, it's just going to get really interesting to see who ends up, falling under the microscope of U.S. regulators, who to date have taken sort of a regulation by enforcement stance rather than a regulation by productive guidance and regulatory framework stance. And this is something that is maddening to many builders in the space. It's like, hey, just like set the rules, we'll just do it that way rather than regulating by enforcement, which has been what has happened to date, just because there are a number of bad actors who keep popping up. So it's a little bit of a whack-a-mole. Who knows? I'm kind of with Jen, though. I think maybe this might free up some brain power for some productive regulatory guidance, but I don't know. We'll have to wait on that one.
While you were talking,
that's
Zach,
it for the show.
I just imagined 20 more people that with that math meme, just so confused. Like, what is happening? Equations flying everywhere.
Word. That's good stuff. We'll get that on the show next time. We'll just do like the meme desk.